Hosni Mubarak sacked his cabinet. The next day, he named his first vice president in 30 years. That failed to appease protesters who continued to stage large sit-ins. On Tuesday, Liberation Square saw its biggest rally of the week, dubbed the March of a Million. The protests, which have been largely peaceful, turned violent overnight with gunfire and petrol bombs aimed at anti-government protesters in the square. On day 12, the leadership of Egypt's ruling National Democratic Party resigned, including Gamal Mubarak, the president's son. On Sunday, the Muslim Brotherhood said, in its own words, it has decided to participate in a dialogue round with the government. Opposition groups had previously said they wouldn't start talks until Mubarak resigned. Well, Hosni Mubarak's power base is built on the support of a powerful and wealthy elite. Jackie Rowland has been finding out how that section of the population is feeling about the current unrest.
Welcome to the Gezira Club, an oasis of calm amid the turmoil of Egyptian politics. Just a few long strokes from the demonstrations on Tahrir Square, you can have a round of golf and catch up with your well-heeled friends. If it weren't for the military helicopter hovering overhead, you could almost forget that the army is on the streets. The members of this club have prospered during the years of Hosni Mubarak, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they support him. In fact, we found the same debates and disagreements on the terraces and the tennis courts here as you find on the streets around Tahrir Square. This is the elite of Cairo society, bankers and businessmen, critics of the president and die-hard supporters. But what they all share is a fear of instability.
We are pro-Mubarak because he gave us stability and he gave us peace during his government. And we are for him, definitely.
He's a brave man. He is a father of all of us. He is not a crazy man. He's a good man. I love him.
He don't understand that everyone around him is corrupted. He don't understand that. And if he understands that and he didn't change it, he is corrupted. Otherwise, he is the best president we can get.
I would like him to leave without leaving a chaos behind him. That's what I want. So if they can reach a formula which can do that, I think it will be much better.
These are the people who drive Egypt's economy, who generate much of its wealth. As long as they're not telling President Mubarak to go immediately, he will hang on for as long as he can. Jackie Rowland, Al Jazeera, Cairo.
Well, with me now to talk about the situation in Egypt further is Thomas Gorgisian, an Egyptian journalist and writer. Thank you so much for coming in. So there are people out there who still support Mubarak from what we just saw there in Jackie Rowland's report. Demonstrators are still in Tahrir Square. Mubarak is still in the presidential palace. Has anything changed at all in the last 2 weeks?
Of course, many things change, but it's the momentum of these demands are changing, and many decisions were made. But of course, it's not a soccer game, as we said. It's not you have to finish like an hour and a half and finish, somebody win and get the cup or something like that. Of course, many changes happened, and it's on their way. Of course, the NDP people leadership resigned. And more or less the VP or the Vice President, Omar Suleiman, is the one who is in charge of these steps. Yesterday and today the talk of the town was the yesterday meeting which took place. Indeed.
Do you think those talks between the government and some of the opposition group like Al-Had, the Muslim Brotherhood, is that a positive step, or do you think it's a waste of time, as some protesters in Tahrir say?
I mean, it's not a waste of time. I mean, to ignore those factors, it's not easy. I mean, it's not proper way to do it. Of course, it was even included like 6 people of the demonstrated people, which we call them the youth of January 25th. And as a matter of fact, to give you a sense of what was happening yesterday, it was a meeting which took about an hour, including those 20 figures from the opposition and the public figures, and attended by the 6 of the youth. And then after that, the vice president sit with the 6 of the youth and discuss with them issues. As a matter of fact, at the end, it came out like a communique, which is describing what was the main point of agreement. Yet, there are a lot of demands, of course, were not met, like the end of the emergency law, And people generally on the Tahrir Square were asking for the dissolving of the
Constitution.
No, changing the Constitution amendment and dissolving of both the parliamentary
Sure.
and the Shura Council. And of course, they are asking for the maximum, of course, is departure of Mubarak from his office.
Well, which he's not doing. He's just held his
course.
first cabinet meeting with his new cabinet, in fact.
Yes.
And he looked very comfortable there with his ministers. Now, what are your views on the Muslim Brotherhood, which has been the bête noire of the Mubarak government for so many years? What are your views on them entering these talks? Do you think it's because of the pressure from outside, or are they just accepting reality now?
Neither this nor that. I mean, to be frank, I mean, it's not just my view, my understanding on the reality on the ground. Okay, first of all, there are two factors over there, whether it's youth or Muslim Brotherhood. Youth, we can say that 70% of the people of Egypt, they were born and they don't know any president except Mubarak. And in the same time, when you take another fact, which is the Muslim Brotherhood, which is like the latest parliamentary election they entered is 20% of, they got third of the votes.
That was back in 2005, right?
2005. Yeah. So they are not, politically speaking, they are not tested. The worst, of course, the Western world is looking to that as a threat, or another Hamas, or another Algerian election, or another Iran 1979, and all these things. And the government or the system, the Mubarak regime, was looking to it as a security issue. So it's an untested organization, which is most of the time it was working underground, but as a matter of fact, as a political and social and powerful factor in the Egyptian economy, Egyptian society. Any government who is coming now has to sit with them, but at least to listen to each other. As a matter of fact, people were talking about yesterday that it was a dialogue. It was not a dialogue. It was like a talks, which is like exchanging ideas, knowing what each other, and they were included in with other people, not just by themselves.
Sure, indeed. Thank you very much, Shamas Korgisian, for your insight. Of course, we'll have the opportunity to talk more about the situation in Egypt in the coming hours and days. Moving on to other news now, and a hearing into the killing of former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri has begun in the Netherlands. And highly sensitive charges to be brought by the prosecutor are expected to be revealed. They're thought to include terrorism and conspiracy charges. Al Jazeera's Barnaby Phillips is in Leidschendam near The Hague for us. Barnaby, what has come out of these hearings today, and how important is this?
Well, it is important because finally, slowly, I have to say, we're moving out of an investigative phase with this UN tribunal and into a judicial phase. Having said all that, let's not get carried away. The trial itself is months away, possibly more than a year away. This is a pre-trial hearing, and both the defence and the prosecution have spent the day trying to lay the groundwork, if you like, for a trial to come, clarifying the meanings of certain terms like terrorism, premeditated murder, conspiracy, trying to reach common ground on these important terms. And it is interesting because through the discussions that are going on in the courtroom, we're getting little clues, if you like, as to what the nature of the indictment will be. Of course, we have no information, no solid information, as to who will be indicted for the murder of Rafik Hariri and 22 others, back in 2005 now.
So realistically then, when will the first indictments be issued? And I know it's going to be difficult for you to answer this one. And when can we expect a trial, simply put?
Well, it will be many weeks before the first indictment is officially issued. The prosecution has handed over to the pre-trial judge already back in January an indictment. He has to now decide whether to confirm it and indeed whether he wants to publish it. He may decide for the time being to keep it secret. There will then be a considerable time span again of months before a trial begins. I think you know, we've just got to keep our expectations relatively low, but we've also got to remember that people in Lebanon are watching this extremely closely. Their country's political future, if you like, is as ever, or perhaps even more than ever now, on very shaky ground. And what happens in this rather innocuous building behind me here in Netherlands will shake that country to the core, but perhaps not just yet, but in several months to come.
All right, thank you very much, Barnaby Phillips, reporting there from the Netherlands. A general strike in Bangladesh is paralyzing much of the country. Security forces there have been put on high alert. Our correspondent Nicholas Hack is in the capital, Dhaka.
10,000 police officers have been deployed across the country as the opposition party, the Bangladesh National Party, called for a general strike. And right now,